Hello friends, let us discuss about floating solar technology in today's video. We all know that climate change is a real issue and the burning of fossil fuels is one of the major causes. Well, we can mitigate this climate change or at least control the rate of climate change by shifting towards renewable energy sources. And one of the options of renewable energy is solar photovoltaics. In solar photovoltaics, the solar panels absorb the sunlight and convert it into electricity. To be more precise, this is a direct current. And this direct current goes into the inverter, gets converted into alternating current. And this alternating current runs our electrical appliances because our electrical appliances are designed for alternating current. And any extra electricity which remains is fed into the grid through net meter. So this is how our grid-tied solar power system works. This is the example of solar photovoltaic. Yes, a 5 kilowatt solar power system has a potential to mitigate over 7 tons of carbon dioxide every year. The process of conversion, the solar panels are absorbing sunlight and convert it into electricity. This process, the conversion process, energy conversion process, is pollution free. There is no carbon emissions. So in that way, a 5 kilowatt solar power system has a potential to mitigate over 7 tons of carbon dioxide every year. Now let us talk about floating solar. Was it? Floating solar is a kind of derivative of solar photovoltaics when we see solar panels installed mounted on the ground. In floating solars, the solar panels are floating or are on water. However, the basic function remains the same, that is absorbing sunlight and producing current. The basic difference is that solar panels are floating or are placed on water. Solar panels by themselves cannot float on water, so they need a supporting structure, or I can say a floating structure, which is made up of usually plastic buoys and cables. So this is how a floating solar technology works with the help of floating structure. Mooring is a process of securing an object in a fixed position using anchors, just like ships. We need to make the solar panel stable on water using mooring. So, and also the mooring must have some level of elasticity in order to withstand the water movement and keep the system stable. We all know that water level rises and dips with a change in the temperature. And at the same time, the solar panels have to synchronize the fall and rise in the water so that they remain stable on water. If the water is moving up and down, the solar panels have to move in a similar fashion. Otherwise, the system would not be stable. It will disorient, and we will receive very less amount of energy. And this is done through mooring process with some level of elasticity. And let us talk about some of the history. The first floating solar was installed by National Institute of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology in 2007 in Aichi, Japan. So the credit goes to Japan for the first floating solar installation. Well, now let us discuss some of its advantages. Yes, they do have disadvantages also, but let us first discuss its advantages. The first one is obviously it does not occupy land. We can have solar panels on water as we already have discussed. So this kind of technology is gaining popularity in the places, in the regions where there is scarcity of land or where land is more important for crop production and other activities. So in that places, solar panels can be used on water or floating solar technology can be used to generate electricity and support the crop production activities and other activities through electricity. Another benefit is that it prevents evaporation. See, the shade of solar panels, obviously solar panels are mounted or placed on water. So the direct sunlight is not evaporating the water. So in that way, solar panels prevents evaporation. And this is it becomes more important in the places where drought is a kind of perpetual condition, places which are very hot. So in that way, solar panels can prevent the evaporation and helps in maintaining the water level. Also, solar panels prevents algae growth. When solar panels are placed on water, when floating solar are placed on water, they inhibits the growth of algae. Algae absorb the dissolved oxygen from water and hence affects the growth of plants, aquatic plants and animals. Algae also releases toxic chemicals into water and that makes it unfit for consumption for human beings. Coming to the next advantage, it increases the efficiency of the solar panels. And how does it do? Well, we all know that with the increase in temperature, the silicon cells, obviously solar panels are made up of silicon cell by joining the silicon cells. With the increase in the temperature, the silicon cells, their efficiency reduces. Or to be more precise, I would say that with the increase in temperature, every degree above 25 degrees Celsius, the performance of the solar panels deteriorates. And we can measure this deterioration, we can measure this decrease by using a matrix called temperature coefficient of power of the solar panels. Lower the value of the temperature coefficient of power, more efficient would be the solar panel. Well, the solar panels are floating or are stable on water, or water is beneath the solar panels. The heat generated, sunlight falling on the solar panels has heating effects too. The heat generated across or around the solar panels is cooled by water. Water has a large heating capacity. It has a capacity to absorb large amount of heat. So in that way, water absorbs the heat around it and makes the solar panels cooler. Their temperature goes down, and in that way, panels perform better. So by cooling the solar panels, water make solar panels more effective and increase their efficiency. Effective sunlight tracking. We know that there is always a relative movement between Earth and the Sun. The position is changing every moment from sunrise to sunset. Therefore, the solar panels have to be moved horizontally and vertically so that they can track the maximum sunlight from the sun. And this sunlight tracking technology is a bit less complex than that of solar panels mounted on the ground. So, in a way, this makes sunlight tracking more effective and less complex than that of solar panels mounted on the ground. Let's discuss some of the disadvantages of floating solar. The first is corrosion. We know that the solar panels, the whole solar power system, floating solar, has to be on water, in water, throughout its useful life. And water plus salt is very corrosive in nature. It may corrode the solar panels, the complete system, within years, within few years, or even within few months. So the whole system has to be enhanced corrosion resistant. High tide waves may impact the performance of the solar panels or floating solar panels. They come with high pressure, and the put pressure on the solar panels may disorient them and may place in such a position that they may not receive sunlight. High wind velocity, high temperature may impact their performance. So the mooring technology has to be strong, elastic, and make stable during such circumstances. Anchoring technology complexity. As we discussed that solar panels by themselves do not float on water, they are supported by plastic buoys, strings, and anchors penetrated into the soil through nuts and bolts. But in case when soil is contaminated, soil is loose, the the penetration using nuts and bolts is not effective. In that case, we use weighted ballast to support the solar panels, the system, or we see the nearby shore to use strings and anchors to fix them, to make them stable. So anchoring technology becomes complex in regions where soil is not light or contaminated. Ecological balance. As we discussed that the shade of the solar panels prevents evaporation and inhibits the growth of algae, but at the same time, the same shade prevents sunlight entering into the water. The plants and animals which are dependent on sunlight, and they undergo photosynthesis for making their food. So in a way, shade of the solar panels inhibits the growth of aquatic plants and animals. Well, talking about the potential of the floating solar, I would say that it has huge potential in regions, in places where there is scarcity of land and where land use is more important for crop production and other activities. In that case, the nearby reservoir can be used for floating solar to generate electricity for such activities. Also, we can use some innovative methods like hybrid technology, integrated technology, like we can install floating solar nearby hydropower plants, and they work in resonance with each other, complement each other. See, the times when the drought, in the times of drought, when solar power, hydropower system may not be that effective, the hydropower plant may pause until water level rises, and the floating solar takes the charge and generate electricity to meet the energy demands. So, floating solar has a potential to power millions of houses if done in a right manner, and using innovative technique like we discussed, that hybrid system using floating solar nearby on the reservoir which are near close to hydropower plants, so that the both system can work and complement each other. So I hope you got this technology. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, goodbye. Thank you very much and have a nice day, and do subscribe to the channel for more interesting updates. Thank you.